so many of us have friends
Mm-hmm.
we know that are in unhealthy relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And even in my families, there are people that blame themselves, and they're adults blaming themselves, thinking it's my fault that she's in this relationship and won't leave it, or things like that. And so I just want to go back to this because a lot of people, this might be really freeing for them right now,
Or confronting, more
or
likely.
confronting.
Because we'd rather make Mel Robbins a bitch than actually look in the mirror and say, where can I own myself, my own role in this?
Mm,
And where can I find my power?
mhm.
It's easier to blame the messenger than to look in the mirror and say, what can I take responsibility for? Nowhere did I say you're at fault.
Mhm.
Fault is a very different word than responsibility. Because when you get into the lane of, I'm at fault, I'm this, now you're beating yourself up.
Mhm.
Now you're insecure. Now you're feeling sorry for yourself.
Mhm.
I want you to do something different. I want you to get very clear about what you're sick and tired of and what you can take responsibility for.
For the person who says, Mel, no matter what I do, my friend just stays in this unhealthy marriage or this unhealthy, and
Uh-huh.
she says she wants out, or she's, saying my friends keep mistreating me, whatever it might be. And she says she wants out. How do you, how do they let them without feeling like, oh, I'm not doing enough, or I'm looking the other way, or I'm turning a blind eye on abuse or something like
Mm-hmm.
that?
Mm-hmm. Excellent question. So if somebody's in a terrible relationship, what do we know? There's nothing you can say that will make them leave that person if you confront it directly. And the more that you attack the relationship that they're in, the more defensive they're going to be in it, and the more they're going to stay in it because they're going to feel like you're attacking them. And so when it comes to people in your life, and let's just talk about varying degrees, right? When there is somebody in your life that's dating somebody that's just not good for them, you're going to have to let them. You just have to. And the only thing that I have ever found that works in my life when I have had someone that I deeply care about in clearly the wrong relationship, and I'm talking someone who did this for years, is the more that they feel judged, the more distance it creates between the two of you, the more they hide the reality of what's going on and how they really feel.
Mm.
And so you need to let an adult be an adult. You need to let them know the truth of how you feel. And there's a particular way to do it, which is not, I think your partner sucks and he's abusing you, and which is going to be very confronting. It's let them know the truth, which is, I'm worried about you because you don't seem like yourself. How can I support you? That's what you say. And then what do you need to do? And this is the hardest part. You need to let them. I'm worried about you. You don't seem like yourself. How can I support you? And what ends up happening is that over time, since you're holding out the truth, that stays with somebody. And when you get into the very scary situations, I was a trained crisis intervention counselor working a domestic hotline for 4 years. I am not immune to the realities of the psychological stranglehold that happens inside of a abuse cycle and the very well documented neurological programming that happens due to the honeymoon abuse cycle of horrible abuse, then tremendous apology, then quiet. The intermittent nature of that actually creates more of a trap inside somebody's brain. I get that. And there is nothing that another human being can do when you literally confront it directly to change that fact. What you can do is you can let them know this is where I'm responsible. I'm not responsible for the relationships you're in. I am responsible for telling you the truth, and I am responsible for offering support to the extent I want to. And that is the truth. And we also know, based on research, it's a minimum of 7 attempts to leave an abusive relationship for somebody. That's why telling the truth, I'm worried about you. I am here for you. I am here to support you. The second that you are ready to leave, I am here. And I know there's nothing I can do to make you do it. But I want you to know I love you. You are so strong, and I'm here. That is how you handle that. And then you have to let them. Because the more you judge that person as weak, the more you have an opinion about it, the more that you get all wrapped up around it. They can pick up on your energy. They know that you're judging them and that you think that they're weak and you're pathetic and you're all this stuff because that's what your energy is portraying. That's why this matters. Do you intervene if somebody is spiraling in a minute? Of course you do. You offer the support. That might mean taking away the pills. That might mean driving somebody to rehab. That's the level of support. But that's based on your boundaries and your truth.
The let them theory, especially when it comes to a lot of the examples you gave that we consume our days with, you know, why didn't he fold the laundry this way?
Yes.
Why didn't, X,
Well,
Y,
can we
and Z?
start that one?
Yeah, let's do it.
Why didn't he fold the laundry? Why didn't they load the dishwasher? Why didn't they, or in my husband's case, why does Mel always stack the cardboard boxes up like a Tetris sculpture instead of breaking them down? Like, this drove him crazy because, everybody gets boxes to their house from Amazon.
Yeah.
And I hate having to do that thing where you flatten them, for recycling. Okay. At least we have to in Vermont. And I always have this thing where I would the boxes would come, I'd carry them to the garage and then I'd stack them up. And I have these big plans that I'm going to come back later and I will do it when I feel like it. Right. Because why? Adults only do what they feel like doing. So can Chris change my behavior? No. I will change my behavior when I want to change my behavior.
Right.
But here's what Chris can do. Using the let them theory, Chris understands he's got to let me be me. He can't make me change. What is Chris responsible for? His truth and his boundaries. So Chris comes to me and he says, can I share something with you? I'm like, sure. He said, every time I walk into the garage and I see the tower of cardboard boxes waiting for some recycling ferry to come flying in here and flatten them all out, I feel like you think I am your servant. And it makes me feel really kind of hurt that you think that that's all that I'm here for. Now, when Chris shares that, I immediately feel terrible. He's not shaming me. He's telling me the truth about how he feels. I don't want him to feel this way. So now what happens? Because I don't want him to feel this way, I now will flatten the cardboard boxes. Why? Because I want to. Does that make sense? And because we don't take the time to recognize that I am not responsible for somebody else's change in behavior. I am responsible for communicating what I feel, what I value, how something impacts me, what I need, what my boundaries are. And then the hardest part is what happens next. Because once you have that communication, that really hurt me, it would make me feel great if you were to do X. The next time this happens, could you do Y? The hardest part of a relationship is what happens next. Because now it's back to the other person and you're going to let them. And here's what's going to happen. They are revealing to you who they are. If I don't flatten those boxes, it reveals to Chris that I really don't care that he feels that way. And this brings me to another law about human behavior. People's behavior is the truest form of communication. I can come up with a million excuses, Jamie. Oh, I'm so busy. I have ADHD. I'll get to it later. I didn't mean to. That's just noise. If you actually want to change or you actually care about what the other person just told you, prove it. And by not doing it, I am communicating loud and clear to Chris. I don't care. And the hardest thing for us, and this is where the let them theory starts to get really deep, is when you really unhook your emotions, Jamie, and you let adults be adults, and you take responsibility for your side of the relationship, which is your truth, your needs, your boundaries, your wants, your all that kind of stuff. And then somebody reveals their true nature. Most of us don't want to face it. And so if we go back to somebody who is in a relationship that is very unhealthy, they're with somebody who has a narcissistic personality style, they're with somebody who's abusive. If you embrace the let them theory and you embrace this rule that you can't change this person and that their behavior is the truth about who they are, now it's on you to really try to separate how you feel and what the other person is saying from the reality of what this other human being is showing you through their communication, through their behavior. Mm-hmm. And again, we don't want to look at that because then we have to look in the mirror and go, what do I need to take responsibility for? If I take what Mel Robbins is saying and the let them theory as truth, and if I take as truth that adults only do what adults feel like doing, and if I take as truth, I can't make anybody change, I can't make anybody like me, I can't make anybody love me, because adults only do what they feel like doing. And if this person's behavior is the truest communication of who they are and what they care about, now it's on me. And I have to make a decision, an incredibly hard decision, a decision that goes against all of the neurological programming that has happened in this relationship, a decision that will have to make me confront the things about myself that I don't want to confront because I'm responsible for what happens next, regardless of all the stuff that went down. And that's why I say you are always capable of changing for the better.
Mel Robbins is the host of one of the top-ranked podcasts in the world. Her books on finding motivation and success have sold millions of copies.
One of the most trusted experts in the world on confidence.
And she's written 3 best-selling books.
New York Times best-selling author and host of the Mel Robbins podcast.
Life coach and motivational speaker.
A dear friend who we are so proud of all you have built and done, Mel.